Love, it is said, makes the world go round. Love is in the air, so goes the title of a song. Love is as perennial as the grass, says writer Max Ehrmann in his inspirational Desiderata. Love recognizes no barriers. Poet-author Maya Angelou chimes in. Unfortunately, so does COVID-19. It is going around, it is very much in the air, and right now, it has survived all 4 seasons of the past year. And yes, it recognizes no barriers. How then do we celebrate love this February, supposedly the month of love? Does getting the vaccine, or Vax, an act of love, not just for ourselves, but for the people around us and the community at large? This month's episode of Talk of the Town is an exploration of love in the time of Corona. Here are our hosts, Cris Godinez and Ner Martinez.
Good evening, everyone. This is Ner Martinez coming to you from Rego Park, New York for Talk of the Town, our episode 3, which is Vax plus Love. We have a full-packed episode for you tonight, and but before we go into that, I'd like to welcome my fellow host out there in New Jersey, our resident U.S. immigration attorney, Cris Godinez. Hi, Cris. How are you?
Pretty good, Ner. Thank you. Good evening. And kumusta po, Talk of the Town viewers? We are streaming live on Facebook to viewers everywhere to bring you news and features for and from the Filipino community. Let's kick off today's episode with the latest news in and around our U.S. and Filipino communities. This is your Balitaan with Philippine Daily Mirror editor Ricky Riliera.
Good evening. This is Ricky Riliera from the News Desk. Here are the top stories for tonight. Philippine Defense Secretary Delfin Lorenzana said that military and defense officials are keen on continuing the Visiting Forces Agreement. They see this as an instrument that ensures the Philippines and the U.S. continue developing military interoperability and capability doctrines in support of the Mutual Defense Treaty. The final decision to push through with determination or withdraw the notice rests on the President. We at the Defense Department and the Armed Forces, the general feeling is for the BFA to continue, Lorenzana said. The abrogation of the VFA by President Duterte has twice been deferred. Lorenzana also told his newly appointed U.S. counterpart that the Philippines does not want any miscalculations or accidents in the South China Sea that may lead to a shooting war between the two giants. In a related story, President Rodrigo Duterte admitted that he was on a tightrope as he could not afford to provoke China because the country was not capable of confronting its military power. President Duterte said that while he did not consider China or the United States an ally, the exigency of the moment requires the presence of Americans in the Philippines. I'm walking on a tightrope. I cannot afford to be brave in the mouth against China because we are avoiding any confrontation that would lead to something we can hardly afford, at least not this time, he said. The exigency of the moment requires Americans' presence here. I'm fine with it, but we do not want or like it because we want to remain neutral. We do not want to quarrel with anyone, President Duterte added. In New York, a suspect in a random act of violence to a Filipino-American while inside a subway train in Manhattan has been arrested. The victim, Noel Quintana, told the Philippine Daily Mirror that he had identified the suspect from a surveillance video shown to him by detectives.
When he slashed me, pabukas niya yung pintuan, he easily escaped. He ran towards the exit, patapos from there parang naglakad na lang siya. Kaya I decided to get out of the train dahil hindi naman nila in-alarm the operator ng train. So I don't want na to stay in the train inside na duguan. Walang help na nangyayari. And he even presented me a video regarding dun sa exit dun sa 911. Tingnan niya kung if I could identify the culprit. Na-identify ko naman.
Still shaken by his traumatic experience, he said that the suspect would be presented to the grand jury this coming week. The 61-year-old Quintana was on his way to work on February 3 when an unknown attacker whipped out a box cutter and slashed him across the face. He suffered an extended horizontal cut from cheek to cheek, right across or under his nose. He thought he was going to die. He cried for help, but nobody came. Instead, he went to an MTA booth and asked the attendant to call 911. The paramedics later came and brought him to the Bellevue Hospital for treatment. The Migrant Center, the National Federation of Filipino-American Associations, and the National Council of Asian Pacific Americans had each issued statements denouncing the rising hate crimes against Asian Americans, not only in New York, but across the United States. Ner, Cris?
Thank you very much, Ricky, for those news bits. Our hearts and prayers go out to Noel Quintana, and we hope that he's given due justice. We hope to get updates soon, and we now bring you Cris.
Yeah, I know Noel Quintana as a volunteer at the Migrant Center where I work. Pagaling ka, Noel Q. We are deeply concerned about the rash of violence against Asians lately. We hope tonight's episode themed Love Prevails will lead us to stop the violence. And on that note, we shift to the Filipino community's concerns about the COVID-19 vaccine. Let's separate fact from fiction in our next segment dubbed Facts.
Okay, tonight we have a special guest who will give us the lowdown on the facts and myths of the vaccine. Some are for taking the vaccine and some are against it. Some have heard that it is safe and others have said it's dangerous. Our guest will shed light on the vaccines and hopefully we are able to provide our listeners and viewers with important information. Cris, how about introducing our guest for the upcoming segment?
Sure, Ner. Our resource person on COVID-19 vaccines is a certified clinical research professional who has worked in pharmaceutical research for 20 years. Talk of the Town is pleased to welcome Joyce Andes David. Joyce is currently Associate Director within the Clinical Sciences and Study Management Group at Merck. Joyce oversees global clinical trials in over 30 countries. Joyce, welcome to Talk of the Town.
Hi, Cris. Hi, Ner. Good evening, everyone. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Joyce, for joining us. Before we begin, can you tell us your motivation and inspiration? Why you got into clinical sciences? I know you said, I think it's oncology, right, Joyce?
Yeah. Well, initially I wanted to be a doctor, but it was too heartbreaking for me to see, people suffering and dying. And so I got introduced into the clinical research industry, and from there I loved it. It's an industry that not many people know about, where, our priority is the safety and well-being of patients. We have, we'll never sacrifice the safety and well-being of our patients over, the research that we do. And it's very fascinating. And I've been working in oncology for about 15 years. So I love that I see the data, I see the progress of patients, but not necessarily have to interact with the patients.
Interesting. Okay, like what we said earlier, there are some myths and some facts about the vaccine. And so we have a couple of questions for you, and hopefully you can shed some light on it.
Yes, Ner.
Cris?
If you ask around, a lot of our fellow Filipinos have concerns about the COVID-19 vaccine. So we kind of got together all these concerns and distilled them to a couple of questions, which we hope you can give insights on. So let's start off with one of the questions that seems to worry a lot of people. People say you can get COVID from the vaccine. Is that true or false, Joyce?
That is false. Currently, there are 2 authorized vaccines here in the U.S. One is the Moderna vaccine, and the other one is the Pfizer vaccine. Both are messenger RNA vaccines, which means they do not contain the live virus. Messenger RNAs vaccines send a message to your body so that it starts building immunity to COVID-19. So it's not like your typical vaccine where you have the flu vaccine or the chickenpox vaccine, which contains a live weakened virus of the actual flu or chickenpox. So again, the mRNA vaccines of Moderna and Pfizer do not contain the live virus. So you will not get COVID from it.
Okay. Ner?
Yeah, I have another question for you. There's a lot of talk about the DNA, the DNA that's in our body. Will the vaccine, or can the vaccine alter your DNA makeup in your body?
Yeah, so I find that very interesting that people think that. So again, the COVID vaccines are mRNA vaccines. They're messenger RNA vaccines. They do not change or interact your DNA in any way because it never enters the nucleus cell where our DNA is kept. So there's no way for it to get into our DNA. It just sends a message to our body and creates a spike protein that tells our body to start building a defense using our body's natural defense system against COVID-19.
Okay, one more question. The COVID-19 vaccine appears to have been approved pretty fast. Mm-hmm. And that brings concerns to a lot of people. People think that because it was developed and approved very fast, they question the efficacy and safety of the COVID-19 vaccines. Is there any truth to this?
So, as I mentioned earlier, our priority in clinical trials and in the research industry is always the safety and well-being of our patients. While these were developed in warp speed, so to say, the safety and efficacy of the vaccines were not compromised. The safety profile of mRNA has been around for decades. It's been researched and tested in clinical trials before, not necessarily for this vaccine, but the safety profile of it does exist in other studies. And then as far as efficacy, Moderna and Pfizer, both studies combined, were tested in about 80,000 patients with the weakest immune system. Typically on a research study or my clinical trials that I've worked on in the last 20 years, our patient population is about 5,000 or less because it's very hard to find patient volunteers. But for these vaccines combined, they were tested on 80,000 patients. And with that, the efficacy was shown to be 94% for both of these vaccines. And they went through the FDA's rigorous, safety, efficacy, and quality test. And currently, the vaccines have been given to about 52 million, people within the U.S. since December 14th to February 14th. So Valentine's Day, 52 million people. And for those that do not know, the safety profile of it continues to be monitored. So you could download this app on your phone after getting your first dose of the vaccine. It's basically it collects adverse event reactions with the vaccine. So it's called Bayer's Vaccine Adverse Event Reaction System. Download it on your phone. So if you feel any side effects other than those that were already proven in the clinical studies, you can report them. And so that's continuously being monitored for long-term use.
Oh, that's very interesting. Joyce, I have a question. I know Pfizer and Moderna are in the US and around the world. Obviously, it's a global pandemic. Some vaccines have also been developed. What can you say about those other vaccines like AstraZeneca, Novavax, and maybe Johnson & Johnson also has a vaccine as well, right?
Yeah, so the other vaccines that are out there, they're being researched. You guys could go to clinicaltrials.gov where you could find more information on the primary outcome measures of those clinical trials and their design. But for the AstraZeneca vaccine, for Sputnik, for the Johnson & Johnson vaccine, they are viral vector vaccines, meaning it sends a genetic code of COVID-19 to your body. So again, it doesn't really contain the live virus. However, there are whole virus vaccines out there, which is Sinovac. And basically that one contains a weakened and inactivated version of COVID-19. So those are the three different types of vaccines out there. So again, Moderna and Pfizer are mRNA vaccines here in the U.S., which we're lucky to have, and we are the priority for getting those vaccines. Right now there's about 100 million doses of that available. Another 200 million doses are being created right now, so that most of the Americans that will need it will be vaccinated hopefully by June or July. And vaccines are harder to make. They're not like the medicine that you buy, today, where it's just a bunch of ingredients that you mix together and then you could just put it out and manufacture it quickly. So it does take longer time, and then they have to test it before they roll out the supplies out to the pharmacies or the vaccination sites.
Yeah. Joyce, a follow-up question. I know your husband is a nurse, so she's a frontline worker, and you had mentioned to us that he had already taken the vaccines. And I think you mentioned that as your love gift, you got vaccinated on February 14th, or something like that. Would you be able to tell us the reaction, what you felt, or since you had the vaccine already?
Yeah, definitely. I'm a big advocate for the vaccines because this is our path to getting back to normal. My husband is a nurse. He works at, Jersey City, which many of you know was highly affected and impacted by COVID-19 during its peak. So he did deal with a lot of, patients at that time. So he is vaccinated with the first dose. You really don't feel anything. You don't even realize that, you're done. It's a very small needle. Don't believe that it's a long needle. It's so small that you will not feel it. It'll probably take about 1 second for you to get the shot, but they do keep you for about 15 minutes to observe and make sure you don't get any side effects after getting the shot. Now, the second dose is the dose that many people do have a reaction to, which is normal. It's found in the studies, and it's expected, because that means your body is having an immune response, immune reaction, meaning the vaccine is actually working. So some of the side effects that you do feel are flu-like symptoms, because your body is starting to build immunity and antibodies against COVID-19. So that's a good side effect. And it usually lasts within, hours or a day at the most. And you could take over-the-counter medicines, to treat any headaches or pains, your arm soreness. But other than that, please get vaccinated. It's the best thing that you could do for your loved ones right now. You're, our best shot at getting back to normal. And, I know it's tough to get vaccine appointments, but anybody needing help or info on how to do that, please reach out to me. I'd be more than happy to help.
Absolutely.
Great. I'm sure questions are starting to pour in now, but we are happy that a lot of the major concerns about the COVID-19 vaccine have been addressed. For more information, please visit the website cdc.gov/vaccines or post your questions in our chat box. We will ask Joyce to answer them. Thank you, Joyce, for sharing the science and the facts on the COVID-19 vaccine.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Ner?
Yeah, thank you, Cris and Joy, the lovely ladies of Talk of the Town. In our next segment, Immigration Troubles, Immigration Solutions. Isang tanong, isang sagot. With Attorney Cris Godinez. Cris, this is your part. Cris will share updates on DACA relief for undocumented persons who were brought into the U.S. as children. So this is our next segment, ITIS.
This is Immigration Troubles, Immigration Solutions, ITIS, it is, with Attorney Cris Godinez.
What's the latest on DACA? Pursuant to a December 7, 2020 court order, the U.S. Department of Homeland Security will continue accepting first-time and renewal requests for DACA, accepting advanced parole applications for DACA, and extending one-year DACA and work permits to 2 years. DACA, or Deferred Action for Childhood Arrivals, is an immigration program that grants 2-year renewable deportation protection and work permits to qualified undocumented persons who were brought to the United States as children. DACA was subjected to continuous attempts by Trump to cancel the program. When President Biden took office, he issued an executive order to preserve and fortify DACA. We are still waiting for concrete and specific changes to the program that fulfills this promise, but at the very least, the promise to preserve and fortify DACA tells us that the Biden administration will no longer launch legal challenges to the DACA program that could possibly remove it. There are now a few bills in Congress that address the plight of dreamers. First is the U.S. Citizenship Act of 2021. One of the first acts of the Biden administration was to submit to Congress a bill that will reform the immigration system, including the grant of automatic green cards or permanent resident status to DACA recipients. Second is the bipartisan DREAM Act of 2021 that will provide dreamers the opportunity to apply for permanent resident status and eventually citizenship if they meet certain requirements. Third, the next COVID-19 relief package bill to include a pathway to citizenship for roughly 5 million undocumented essential workers, including 330,000 DACA recipients and TPS recipients. Essential workers include those who are critical to the U.S. food supply, like farm workers and grocery store employees, as well as teachers, healthcare workers, and first responders. There are an estimated 1.33 million individuals who are potentially DACA eligible. As of June 2020, however, only about 645,000 have obtained DACA. Find out if you are DACA eligible. Were you born after June 15, 1981? Were you under 16 years old upon arrival in the U.S.? Are you a continuous resident of the U.S. since June 15, 2007? Were you physically present in the U.S. on June 15, 2012 and at the time of the DACA application? Did you enter the U.S. without inspection or overstayed your visa before June 15, 2012? Were you at least 15 years old at the time of your DACA application filing? Are you a high school graduate or in school or with GED or honorably discharged from military service? Do you have a conviction of a felony, significant misdemeanor, multiple misdemeanors? Or, if you have no criminal conviction, do you pose a threat to national security or public safety?
And this is an immigration solution for an immigration trouble. Let us know if you have questions, and please feel free to send us your comments.
Thank you very much, Attorney Cris. I'm sure a lot of our viewers will be having some questions. So, viewers, please feel free to send us your questions on the chat box below.
Mhm.
But anyway, our next segment is what we at Talk of the Town call our Rewind.
Yes.
Our
In
look
February,
back, our look back at our history. Cris.
Yeah, in February, Ner, we honor Black History Month and celebrate the EDSA People Power Revolution that happened in the Philippines more than 30 years ago. Here to discuss major historical events that have shaped our present is Noel Pangilinan, professor at the College of Mount St. Vincent. Noel?
Hi, I'm Noel Pangilinan, and this is this month's episode of Philippine American History Rewind. Here in the United States, February is Black History Month, while in the Philippines, February is remembered as the month when People Power or EDSA Revolution took place in 1986. Black History Month is an annual celebration of achievements by African Americans and a time for recognizing their central role in U.S. history. But we should also look back at our own history. Did you know that there were several African Americans who supported and even fought for the cause of Philippine independence against U.S. colonial design? During the Philippine-American War from 1899 to 1903, there were several African American soldiers who defected to the Filipino Revolutionary Army. One of them was David Fagan, a corporal of the U.S. Army. Fagan arrived in the Philippines in June 1899. He was part of the U.S. Army sent across the Pacific to wipe out the Philippine Revolutionary Army. The Filipinos at that time were fighting to stop the U.S. colonization of the Philippines and to defend its nascent republic. Less than 6 months after arriving in the Philippines, Fagan defected to the Filipino Army. He was said to have joined the Filipino Freedom Fighters around Mount Arayat in Pampanga Province. Several other African American soldiers followed suit and joined the Philippine Liberation Army. Author Philip W. Hoffman, who wrote the book David Fagan, Turncoat Hero, said Fagan was disillusioned with the U.S. Army's mission in the Philippines, its treatment of Filipino prisoners of war, and of the racist abuse committed by the U.S. Army against African American soldiers within its ranks. Fagan fought for the Philippine cause for 2 years. He was promoted from first lieutenant to captain, but he was so popular that Filipino soldiers often referred to him as General Fagan. He was reported to have led assaults against U.S. troops, the most famous of which was a daring raid of a supply barge on the Pampanga River. As a result, Fagan became the object of a relentless manhunt by the U.S. Army, with a $600 reward for his capture, dead or alive. In 1901, a Tagalog hunter delivered to American authorities the severed head, allegedly of an African American he claimed to be Fagan. But this story has never been confirmed. Official Army records of the incident refer to it as the supposed killing of David Fagan. But several months later, Philippine constabulary reports still made references to occasional sightings of Fagan. To this day, it remains unclear what exactly became of David Fagan. But Fagan will always be remembered as the African-American soldier who embraced the Filipino people's cause for liberation as his own, and for resisting the injustice of American imperial design in the Philippines. To General Fagan, saludo. This year is the 35th anniversary of the EDSA Revolution. From February 22 to February 25, Filipinos took to the streets to call for the ouster of the then President Marcos, who has ruled for 21 years, 14 of which under a military-backed one-man martial law dictatorship. On the fourth day, Marcos fled the country, paving the way for the restoration of democracy in the Philippines. We would like to pay tribute to the courageous men and women who braved tanks and soldiers to fight for freedom and democracy. Here are some iconic photos from that historic event, played as we listen to an equally, if not more, iconic song, Bayan Ko. Bayan Ko was originally written in Spanish as Nuestra Patria during the Philippine-American War by Filipino General Jose Alejandrino. It was translated in Tagalog 3 decades later by Jose Corazon de Jesus. Bayan Ko is the most popular protest song at various points in Philippine history, and most notably during the protests leading to the EDSA Revolution. like this month's episode of Philippine American History Rewind, please send us your feedback. Next month, we celebrate International Women's Day. We will pay tribute to the women leaders in Philippine history who helped give birth and nurture our young nation. For Talk of the Town, this is Noel Pangilinan. Salamat at ingat.
Chris?
Yes, it's remarkable to learn about an African American soldier who found common cause with Filipinos fighting for independence and common folks in EDSA who braved tanks and the soldiers. So here's to the unsung heroes. Thank you, Professor Noel. Ner?
Yeah, thank you, Professor Noel, for that wonderful piece of history. Guess what we have coming up next? We talked about history, vaccines, news, and since it's the month of heart, love in the time of COVID. How do you cope with love in this times? Will you be okay? Will you be able to find a love match? Take a listen to our next segment.
Okay, so Talk of the Town is so lucky to welcome a soulmate and relationship expert based in Chicago. She will be talking to us about love in the time of COVID. Please welcome Lorii Abela. Hello, Lorii.
Hello, good evening. I'm Lorii Abela here in Chicago, and thank you so much for inviting me over here. And I'm happy to have been invited by Ner and our attorney here tonight. Thank you.
All right, so Ner,
Yeah,
we have interesting topics
exactly.
to unfold tonight. So, do you want to?
Yeah, I have
start?
a quick question for Lorii first. I was surprised that she ventured into this realm of, love and relationship. Like, what inspired you to go into this? It's a business or it's a career?
Yeah, thanks for asking. So I met my husband already late in life, and I was wondering, okay, maybe let me be the guinea pig, and I decided to show like what are the ways in order to manifest your love in your life. So I've already set an intention. I want to meet this guy in 30 days. That was in 2010. And so this person showed up in 28 days. So I cannot really complain. I said if I can do this, I can teach other people, like thousands of people worldwide. So I started to create anthologies. And I collaborated with dating coaches, matchmakers, sex experts, psychotherapists, personal coaches, and even the LGBTQ coaches from around the world, because I wanted to be all-encompassing, which is relevant to the present world that we are in right now.
And speaking of the present world, the things that we're encountering right now, these are really abnormal times. And unfortunately, people need to keep their distance. So, Lorii, can you tell us a little bit about how you're carrying out your work in this time of COVID-19? How do you help people build relationships at a time when they need to social distance?
Yeah, exactly. It's close to a year now that we have this pandemic. Right now, off the bat, singles are doing video dates and Zoom dates. If you have work from home, this is the date from home. There's actually a silver lining behind the coronavirus, because singles are now back to basics of wooing instead of left and right dating and hookups. It's really economical nowadays because you don't have to be spending for restaurants, which are so expensive. Lucky for you if you can spend $60 nowadays on a date, it can be as much as $100 and over. And then you don't have to have your hair done and then makeup done, because everything now is DIY. You can do it at home. And then you don't have to dress up. Only the upper part of your body, from your torso up, and then from the bottom you can actually wear your PJs. And people are taking time to actually really get to know before meeting people, because they want to make sure that they are the right people that they want to meet. Also, when you think about it, sometimes it also relates to their political affiliation. So we know that Democrats are very cautious because they believe that there is a virus actually. And actually, when they decide to meet up, they have to ask now, is it okay to kiss you? Before you just kiss left and right, because like, that's your automatic instinct, beso beso. So right now it's a no. You still have to ask permission. And so the online dating and the matchmaking industry became so popular, and the industry became a boom this pandemic times, because like people have never felt so alone. So people have also been creative in having dinners, late night drinks, and watching movies, dancing, and also speed dating. But all of them are online. So people even delve into getting to meet people not only in Tinder and in Bumble, but also in Facebook and in LinkedIn. So like LinkedIn is not just only for people interested to look for jobs. So Bumble gave the power to women, because in Bumble, it's the women who are initiating the conversation. So swiping left and right continues till 2021.
Wow.
Wow.
So yeah.
Yeah. I have a follow-up
Lori?
question there. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, Lorii, what would you tell someone who is seeking a long-term relationship at this time? Is it go for it, or wait until the coast is clear, or something like that? What would you suggest or recommend?
So right now we are suggesting people to get to know as much as possible the person, because as I was saying, like, this is traditional days right now. These are the times of your lolos and lolas. So you have to be, selective, and then communicate as much as possible. And once you're ready, because like, expect that this will be happening anyway after, the people has been vaccinated. And it's gonna come to that anyway. So, but for those who are courageous, I'm sure they're okay to meet, because like there's no coronavirus in love. Love will show the way.
True.
Wow.
Wow.
So Lorii, can you tell us a little bit more about the books that you've written on love and relationships? Can you tell us what, if you were to give us like 3 tips from the books that you've written that people can take with them at this program and in this abnormal times of the pandemic? What are the 3 things you would relate to them?
Okay, so let me just show you a little bit about like the books, because like, they were talking about books and maybe they don't know what are we talking about. So I have written these books. Most of them are about love, dating, and relationships. And before anything else, like, let me request everybody to look at the caveat here, because you don't just look for somebody right now because you are depressed, you are lonely, you're anxious, and these things of finding love is not gonna work, because your energy is gonna show that you are, this person who's feeling so devastated of how things are going. So you will not attract anybody. So discover why you want a romantic partner now, and while you're waiting, take advantage of it. Like, love yourself. And I have many tips, but I can tell you the basic foundations. So the first one is of course to ask. So ask God, the universe, your angel, whatever you call your God or your creator. Identify exactly what you need, so that you can tell, okay, this is what I need. And let me consider, take a look, like, what is what you need as compared to what you need dream about. Because like, remember, J-Lo and George Clooney are already taken. So you will imagine also that the Filipinos are so religious. So they have prayed so many times, for this person to show up. But you don't have to be asking all the time, because you have to remember, the next tip is to believe. You should be able to believe that, your order is coming. Similar, when you place an order in a restaurant, you trust that the food will be prepared for you. You just don't kept on saying like, oh, where's my order? Similar, when you cook rice in a rice cooker, you don't keep on opening the lid, because like, you're wondering, is it cooked already? So you just believe that there's somebody coming over there in your doorstep somehow, and also believe that you are deserving. Because like, this idea of you're not worthy, you're not good enough, all of those not enough is not actually helping you. It's actually sabotaging you, and it's not helping. So the last one is to receive. So be open who is showing up in your life. So forget about like those times that oh, okay, I have to look, he is not even 5'10". He's shorter than 5'10". So imagine how many people are 5'10" in the world. We have to be like somehow realistic. And then also you have to remember that you are not alone in this thing. Like your partner is also looking for you. And so look at the big picture, and also remember that instead of focusing what is outside, take a look at the big picture of what is inside, because like eventually everybody is gonna have gray hair and wrinkles in their face as they grow older. So yeah, that's just some pointers, but I can always share more later on, once the people probably post some questions. So we have no idea if we have automatic questions right now.
So the dating scene is alive and well, even in times of COVID. So that's the state of love in the time of COVID. Thank you, Lorii, for stopping by and sharing your relationship insights with us.
Definitely.
Thank you, Lorii, very much. It was such an eye-opener. And, well, we'll still look for love, because love is in the air always and forever. But thank you. Thank you. And up next, anything going on in your community? What's up? What's new? What's cooking? People, organizations, places, events. We have all the information that you need. What's the buzz? Here with community boss Lambert Parong.
Hello everyone, kamusta po kayo? I am Lambert Parong and welcome to Community Buzz. We begin with some sad news. Filipino-American Catherine Craig, an award-winning broadcast journalist and mom of 3 kids, died suddenly last week. She was 47. For the past 10 years, she was working as a reporter for the morning news program Today in New York. Catherine is a beloved member of our community. She would always find time hosting events for different organizations. We here at Talk of the Town and the Filipino community send our thoughts and prayers to her family and friends. Catherine will be missed. Also, photographer and activist Corky Lee died from COVID complications last January 27. His pursuit of photographic justice is an inspiration to the Asian American community. His legacy of documenting Asian representation in American society remains a significant contribution to America's history. He is also well known within Filipino-American circles. Corky Lee was 73. The Pan-American Concerned Citizens Action League, based in Jersey City, New Jersey, just included another Healthy Heart, Healthy Family program that promotes living a healthy lifestyle. Back in January, the organization announced their new executive board, led by Ms. Rose Javier as president. The organization also acknowledged its immediate past chief executive officer and longtime executive director, Mr. Bobby Yalong, for his contributions while leading the group. Another New Jersey-based community organization, Migrante, is hosting a town hall about the Filipino-American agenda that aims to gather and unite community members to push for change around immediate and long-standing concerns of the community. It will be held online on Sunday, February 28 at 4 in the afternoon. More information is available at the Migrante New Jersey Facebook event page. The University of the Philippines Alumni Forum would like to invite you to an online discussion about the most recent developments affecting the University of the Philippines. For its first offering, the Tambayan series focuses on the Philippine military's seemingly renewed hostility towards the state university. The online forum, Who's Afraid of UP, will be on February 24 at 8 in the evening, Eastern Standard Time, or February 25, 9 in the morning Philippine time. The registration link can be found on our Facebook page, PinoyLife. In celebration of International Women's Day, the Philippine Embassy in Washington, D.C. cordially invites you to a panel discussion with Filipino and Filipino-American women writers on Monday, March 8 at 5 in the afternoon, Eastern Standard Time. To register, visit the Facebook page of the Philippine Embassy in Washington, D.C. Rogers and Hammerstein's Cinderella, starring Brandy Norwood, Whitney Houston, and Filipino-American Paolo Montalban, is now available to stream on Disney+. The made-for-TV classic film first premiered in 1997. The producers noted that Paulo Montalban was the last actor on the final day of auditions for The Prince. This remake is being made available to stream for the first time. Finally, New York's own Gil Banawis, the singer, songwriter, and much sought-after performer in community events here in the Tri-State area, is in the Philippines as part of ABS-CBN's popular reality show Pinoy Big Brother Connect. It is the Philippine version of Big Brother, a reality series and game show in America by CBS Television Network. Unfortunately, this past weekend, she didn't advance to the next round. In any case, we can't wait to learn about her next adventure. That is it for now. I am Lambert Parong for Community Buzz. Send us your announcements. Email them to communitybuzz@pinoylife.net. Thanks and stay tuned for more.
Thank you, Lambert. Thank you for all the information Thank you for the information on the Community Buzz. And Cris, I would love to stay and talk more to our guest, Lorii, and to Joy. Chock full of information earlier, but we are out of time. And as much as we'd love to stay longer, it is time to say so long. Thank you to our special guest, Joyce Andres David, and of course, Lorii Abela for gracing our show tonight. And we truly learned so much. And to all our viewers and listeners, thank you. Again, please feel free to like our Facebook page if you haven't already. We are streaming live at PinoyLife.net. And while you're at it, please invite your Facebook friends to do the same. Salamat po, Cris Godinez. You're on.
On behalf of the Talk of the Town team, Ricky Rillera with Balitaan, Noel Pangilinan with Rewind, Lambert Parong with Community Buzz, and our technical and artistic director Ralph Sampson and video editor Jay Acuña. Salamat at sinamahan niyo po kami ngayong gabi. Thank you for joining us today. We leave you with a quote. There is no such thing as a worthless conversation provided you know what to listen for. And questions are the breath of life for a conversation. That's James Nathan Miller. Please check our website. See you in our next episode. And until then,
come and talk to us. So long. Good night.
Magandang gabi po.
Free as a bird in the sky, that is what you are. Breathe and you know you're alive. Feel the beat of your heart. Well, life is a crazy way of turning everything upside down. So move with the time that you have. The world will keep spinning round. Don't wait for tomorrow. Live for today. Keep chasing the sunshine and go out and play. Listen, I wanna be there with you no matter where you go.